There are a few divisional matchups in the NFL coming up. A very interesting card when you consider how important divisional games are. Green Bay at Chicago, that's September 5th, Thursday night. That's the opening game of the NFL season. And the line opened Chicago 4.46. Total stayed the same. The line has dropped down to 3.5. Now, some people might consider that to be a cheap number, considering that Chicago won this division last year. They were the superior team. But when you have Aaron Rodgers on the field, healthy, and they have a new head coach, we don't know what to expect from the new head coach. But and a lot of people are looking for a regression to the mean, which means Green Bay would get better and Chicago would get a little bit go backwards a little bit and not be quite, sneak up on people and be quite as good. I'm looking for this to be a battle. Chicago's good. They got a good running game, a good defense, but Mitchell Trubisky is, he's a marginal quarterback. A lot of people are saying he's going to be a lot better than he is. He has to show that to me. We know he can run the football, but he's not that accurate a passer. But we know that Aaron Rodgers is, and he gets his game going. He's very tough. That should be an interesting. That's a divisional matchup. Very important games when you talk about divisional games. The next divisional game on the card is Washington and Philadelphia. Well, we don't expect too much from Washington this year. Case Keenum will be the quarterback. Of course, you got Carson Wentz on the other side. Philadelphia opened 9. It's 9.5 in some spots, 8.5 in others. So you're looking at about a 9 number out there across the board. I don't think Philadelphia is going to have a very hard time in this division until they run into Dallas. But you're talking about almost double-digit numbers here, and I'm certainly not going to get too excited about it. Washington is, boy, I tell you, they got a lot of holes. Jay Gruden's on the hot seat. Like I said, I'm not going to lay big numbers like that at this time of year. We still have to see what these teams will do. Buffalo at the Jets. This is another divisional matchup. The Jets open 3.5. It's down to 3. It's 3 across the board now. The total is about 39.5 or 40. The Jets are impressive. I thought they made some nice moves. Buffalo looked to make some nice moves. I like what I'm seeing for both of these teams. I think they're both going to improve. But if I'm looking at this game, I'm probably taking the points in a very hard-fought football game. They will meet twice during the regular season. And like I said, divisional games are very important, and teams get up for these games. I think Buffalo will keep this close, but you're not getting much on the card. If this game was 4, I would definitely be all over Buffalo. And the next divisional game on the card, we go down the list here, and we're looking at, where are we looking at? Here we go, the Giants at Dallas. Now, they talk a lot about the backup quarterback for the Giants taking over from Eli Manning, but as of now, Eli Manning is the starter, and Dallas has got some issues with Elliott not signing, the contract issues down there, but Dallas is home, 7-point favorite. I would not lay 7 points with Dallas in this spot. This, like I said, divisional matchup. There's a history here of the Giants going down there and playing as hard as they possibly can. I don't like the Giant team, but Dallas and Philly are going to probably be the teams to fight it out for this division title. But opening game, and especially if Zeke isn't in the lineup, Giants have a shot here. I'd take or pass on this one. And I'm actually seeing some numbers out there where the line has gone down to 6.5. So I guess there's some other guys out there that are thinking the same way I'm thinking. 7 is a take. Anything lower, you might pass it because there's a lot of value in that kind of number. And this is the week where we actually get 2 Monday night games. You got Houston at at New Orleans, and you got Denver at Oakland. Now, I was just talking about division games, and Denver at Oakland is a division game. I am not impressed with Oakland's club. I'm not impressed with what John Gruden has done out there with the lineup and with the squad, the trades, the things that he's done. But however, he might have a plan that I don't see. I can't quite figure it out. The game opened Oakland 2.5. It's down to pick 'em. I think by game time you might see Denver being the favorite. I think Denver's the better club. They have a very solid defense, and defense travels well, and defense really usually has an advantage early in the season. I think Denver is the right side of this game. I'm not looking for Oakland to produce much this year. Maybe 4 or 5 wins on the season, and that's it before they come here to Vegas next year. So that's what I see in the divisional matchups. Any other games out there, of course, you've got to talk about Pittsburgh at New England. This New England team, who doesn't usually put any effort whatsoever into the preseason, I think they actually show me a lot. Their defense looks improved. I like what they've done at the wide receiver position. Yes, they lost Gronkowski in the offseason to retirement, but this is a solid organization. They know how to win, and that's the key here. They know how to win. Pittsburgh has lost a couple guys. Brown and Le'Veon are gone, but I think Pittsburgh's going to be very tough this year. I actually predict that they will win the AFC North. I know Cleveland is the team everybody's talking about, but I feel Pittsburgh will win that division. In this game, New England is 5.5 or 6. And the total is 51. Look for this New England team to take some pressure off of Tom Brady by running the ball. Remember the days when we actually talked about running the ball? Well, they could be a ground and pound team a little bit more than what you might expect because they're putting in some heavyweight. The offensive line, they lost their center. That was big, but they made 2 moves on that to make some adjustments there to fill that gap. Tom Brady's older. We all know that. I don't think they're going to put him in a position to have to throw the ball as often as he did in the past. Look for this to be more of a ground and pound game. You might actually see this game go under the total. And if it's under the total, your advantage would be to taking the points, but I would take 6, no less than 6 when you're talking about New England at home. Now, you got a game that's interesting to me is Indianapolis at the Chargers. Here, we lose Andrew Luck to retirement for Indianapolis. And I really liked the Colts this year. I thought they were going to go far. I thought they would win their division and possibly challenge for the AFC title to get to the Super Bowl. I'm not predicting that any longer. Jacoby Brissett, I feel, is a solid backup. We have yet to see that he is a solid starter. So we're going to have to wait on that one. The Chargers are starting, they got this game that was 3, went up to 7.5, and now we're seeing 6.5s everywhere. So what's happened here, the overreaction initially when it went up to 7.5, I was grabbing the Colts, even with Brissett, because I feel the Colts have solid elements all over their squad. The offensive line, their defense, their running game. I think they can compete with anybody, especially in the AFC South. And in this game, the Chargers, of course, are without their running back, who's holding out for a contract negotiation or a trade, whatever. I would take 7 because I feel like the Colts are going to really gather themselves and come in and really fight hard in this game because it's so much more meaningful now that they lost their leader to go out there as one unit and play very tough. 7 is a take for me. Everything else is a pass. Now, I see there's a lot of games out there, and we're not going to talk about each one of them, but Atlanta at Minnesota is a game we should talk about. Atlanta is a team that was at the Super Bowl a couple of years ago. Minnesota got into the playoffs, and then they made a big change. They get rid of Keenum. They bring in Cousins. I'm really not sure about that move. I just don't know that was the right move. But it's not all about just quarterbacks. Minnesota's a solid club, solid coach, home field advantage, open 4.5, down to 3.5. That tells me something. I agree. At 4.5, I did bite on 4.5. I took Atlanta. I would actually take 4 as well. I think it's going to be a competitive game. There's really not that much difference between these two teams, except that you look at the different elements. Atlanta comes with a quarterback that he's been there, done that, knows how to play, knows how to win. They got the wide receivers. They got a couple good running backs. Minnesota's the same way. Minnesota might have a superior defense, and they have the home field. It's about right. 4 is probably the right number to take. I wouldn't take anything less than 4. If you grab 3.5, you're giving up a little bit of a juicy number with 4, but I can understand doing that. A lot of people come in and say, hey, Minnesota, home 3.5, they're going to lay that. Well, I think it's competitive. I think they're going to move up and down the field. This should be very interesting. This is probably the best game other than the Pittsburgh-New England game of the day as far as watching these games. So anyway, that's my take for the first week. And we'll talk to you again next week. We'll try to do one of these every week. Thanks, folks.
Technology.